Welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today, June 5th. It's a Monday. It's going to be a little bit smaller slate today. We got 7 games in total for the main slate. So since it's Monday, no recap since we haven't had a video since Friday. But with that being said, we'll go over a little bit of weather report. If you're brand new, this is kind of the format that I do, especially on Mondays. On the other days, I will be doing the recap from the prior day. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about weather. It doesn't look like anything too major at this point in time. And then we'll go over to FanDuel, talk about the core picks that I do like for today, go over one pitcher, 4 hitters in general. You don't necessarily have to play those 5 players together. Also depends a lot on the slate, but do like highlighting guys that have good prior history or good recent history. And that's kind of how I go into it in my process. And then last but not least, going over to the bottom half of the cheat sheet on the YouTube community tab and talking about my top GPP teams to stack for the day. But without further ado, we're going to start with a little bit of weather here. Like I said, doesn't look like anything major at this point in time as we're kind of going through these games. Detroit and Philadelphia doesn't look like anything. The Marlins game is in the Dome versus Kansas City. Doesn't look like anything in the Oakland-Pittsburgh game. When we go to Houston-Toronto, that is the Dome as well. Milwaukee versus Cincinnati, 1% chance of rain at this point in time. A Dome for the Texas game versus the Cardinals. Moving over to Cubs and Padres, doesn't look like any chance of rain there at this point in time. So a pretty standard day in terms of weather-wise at this point in time. Doesn't look like there's any major concerns. If anything does change with that throughout the day, I will leave it down in the comments, as well as all the starting lineups as they do come out throughout the day. They will be down there as well. So definitely be sure you're checking up there as we get closer to lock. But with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing that screen real quick. We'll go straight over to FanDuel and talk about the core picks that I do have for today just in general. So it's kind of an interesting pitcher day. There is not a lot of history here in the past. So you can look at the 3 pitchers that I do have in my core, which it's going to be Aaron Nola, it's going to be Blake Snell, and Johan Oviedo, who is my core pick pitcher for today. He's going against the Oakland A's. Not really much history there. He's faced Jace Peterson, I believe, like one other hitter in their lineup before. Has good results versus those guys, but for the most part, has not faced this A's team before. Oviedo, he's been kind of a swingman throughout of his career, but was still one of the better 5 pitchers that at least Pittsburgh had to offer. $8,400. We're at 25.5 fantasy points so far this season. Obviously last 2 starts have been in the 20s. We've seen some upside out of him this year. Really come down to when that slider's been effective for him. He's had really good results. Going against the Oakland A's should be a favorable matchup for him just in general. And he's a pretty cheap pitcher, but would recommend mixing and matching pitchers today. I'm not sure if Andrew Abbott is on the slate at this point in time yet or not. So he's not there. He will be pitching for Cincinnati today against the Milwaukee Brewers. If he does appear on the slate, could be an interesting play. It's his MLB debut, so not sure what his price tag will be if and when they do add him in the slate, but a guy that I do like highlighting, a prospect that I did like quite a bit. And the Brewers lineup struggling a little bit. Haven't hit left-handed pitching the best either. But then as we keep moving down, we're going to Nate Lowe at first base here. $3,200. He's averaging just over 11 fantasy points per game on the season, so pretty reasonable for his price tag, respectively. He has no history in the past versus Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright's allowed a lot of contact so far this season, so I do like Lowe. Lowe is a guy that does hit right-handed pitching pretty well. I know I was reading up on him where it said he hasn't hit a home run in like almost a month, but then he finally hit one yesterday, so maybe that, or 2 days ago, excuse me. So hopefully that's kind of the start of some good things there to come, but still been hitting the ball really well. We see 3 multi-hit games in the last 5 games, hitting 5 out of the last 6 games. So some pretty decent history there. He's at 280 average on the season, 6 home runs, 35 RBIs, like I did mention, 11 fantasy points per game, and $3,200. So definitely looks like a pretty strong play today. Going against Adam Wainwright is a pretty favorable matchup for him, although there is no history there in the past. Then we're going to move down to Alex Bregman. He's $3,200 going against Alex Manoah today, who has not been good by any means this season, which is kind of weird since he was an all-star last year, pitched extremely well last year, but allowing a lot of contact, allowing a lot of walks and everything else like that. Bregman is 1 for 3 versus him in his career with a home run. So do like going after some Bregman today. He's at 256 average on the season, 8 home runs, 36 RBIs, averaging 10.5 fantasy points per game. $3,200 is his price tag at this point in time. So he's kind of been creeping back up towards the mean where he's going to be most of the season. But, he's got a hit, and God, that's a lot of games in a row now. I'm not even counting all those out. But you can see that he's hit safely in, probably 11 straight games there. He's really starting to turn it back on. And he's kind of one of those guys who'll go on his down stretches and then he'll go on his really hot stretches. And that's when you really want to attack him, is when he's really hitting the ball well, because he is a really good hitter just in general. So do you like the upside there versus Alek Manoah? I like his teammate today as well. And Kyle Tucker at $3,400. Averaging over 10 fantasy points per game. Still that good matchup against Manoah, who, like just I said already, has not been good this season. And Kyle Tucker's 2 for 3 versus him in his career. So there's some upside to be had there. Kyle Tucker is a little bit more hit or miss to his game. 276 average, 7 home runs, 34 RBIs. Like I said, averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game. He's $3,400. So he's the most expensive hitter that we do have so far. So you'll see a lot of games here. We got the multi games, then we got the over games. So maybe a little bit more of a boom bust play. But if you're playing a Houston Astros stack today, would definitely recommend playing Kyle Tucker and would definitely recommend playing Alex Bregman. If I'm probably taking anybody out of my core pick today, it probably end up being Kyle Tucker. But on a day where we don't have a lot of history, I'm going after some hitters that do have some decent history versus the pitchers that are pitching today. So just going to say it like that. And then last but not least, we have Juan Soto here at $3,600, up to a 253 average at this point in time, 10 home runs, 27 RBIs, averaging just under 12 fantasy points per game. He's $3,600, which is a little bit of a downtick in price for him. Goes against Kyle Hendricks today. He is 4 for 10 versus Kyle Hendricks in his career. So some decent history there at that. Juan Soto has been hitting the ball better as of late, although we do see some over games in here as well as of late. But prior to that stretch, was hitting the ball pretty well. Like the matchup against Kyle Hendricks today. Kyle Hendricks at this point in his career, unfortunately, not a guy that throws hard, super reliant on command and everything else like that. If his curveball is not working, he's going to be very hittable. So the starts where his curveball works, he's all right. The starts where his curveball is not the greatest, that's kind of the games where he gets hit around quite a bit. So do like the Padres today. They have some decent history versus Kyle Hendricks as well. And Juan Soto is one of the main beneficiaries of that. But with that being said, if you end up going with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $13,200 remaining, $3,300 per player. So a good chunk of change, whether you want to spend up for some star players or whether you want to build a little bit more balanced approach. Definitely a lot of ways that we can do it today. 7-game main slate, like to mix and match quite a bit on these slates, especially from that pitcher position and some of the stacks that we do build out as well. But with that being said, I'm going to get off this page. We're going to go over to the YouTube community tab and talk about the bottom half of the cheat sheet. If you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, you're not familiar with my cheat sheet, go over top plays, mid-range plays, and kind of value plays in there for each position. The bottom half has the top GPP teams to stack, and this cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on the YouTube community tab. It's up on Facebook. It's up on Twitter. So a lot of different places that you can find it. Definitely be sure to check it out as you're kind of building your lineups as we start out throughout the day. If you're looking for a little bit more in-depth notes, patreon.com/Coach Craig Sports. $5 a month, very small, the monthly donation there. It's like a price of a cup of coffee if you're going out and buying coffee somewhere. Ends up being about 25 cents per day, Monday through Friday. You get some additional notes there as well. Hitter versus pitcher matchups, kind of a little bit of breakdown on each pitcher, whether I would consider them a risky play in play or kind of an avoid on the given day. A little bit of background versus the team if they faced them before this year or last season, everything else like that. And then some more top teams to stack if they don't fit in my cheat sheet. So those would be the ones that are a little bit lower down for me on the day. But with that being said, the top GPP teams do stack for today. For my list is going to be the Philadelphia Phillies. They do not have any history versus Joey Wentz, who is pitching for Detroit today. He's got an ERA over 7. He's been very hittable, so I like going after some of those Phillies bats. The kind of unfortunate part is some of their power bats are left-handed hitters, but at the same time, Bryce Harper can hit left-handed pitching. Kyle Schwarber, it really doesn't matter too much which side it's from. He's struggled a little bit this season, but can still hit for power on any given night. Nick Castellanos ended up in the cheat sheet. So definitely a lot of different options that we could approach there from the Philadelphia standpoint. And then, like I said, the Padres going against Kyle Hendricks. If Kyle Hendricks does not have that breaking ball working tonight, it's going to be a good game for the Padres. So do like attacking them once again. Juan Soto is the leader in the pack there. But if you want to go after like Fernando Tatis Jr., if you want to go after Jake Cronenworth, a couple other guys there, definitely feel free to do that as well. Matt Carpenter does have a long track record versus Kyle Hendricks, although it's not the greatest. So if he ends up starting, at least he's the guy that's seen him quite a bit in the past. And then we move over to the Houston Astros. Like I said, with Alek Manoah, just has not been good so far this year. He's been very hittable. He's been allowing walks, hasn't been a big strikeout guy, although he's not the greatest strikeout pitcher in the world to start with. So a lot of favorable things there for the Houston Astros lineup, whether, it is a Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman. If you want to play somebody else in that lineup, feel free to do so as well. And then for the Texas Rangers are my last team to stack for today. They are going against Adam Wainwright. Like I said, Adam Wainwright has been very hittable at this point in time. Texas Rangers bats have been pretty hot to start the season, so definitely do like going after them once again today. Corey Seager is the one that has the most history versus Adam Wainwright and the most success at that, but not a lot of these guys have too much history versus him. If Wainwright's not on top of his game, could be a pretty interesting one for this Rangers stack today. I see Lord King Guru over here as well. He said Braxton Garrett is my core pitcher for today. So I do like Garrett's upside. He's just one of those guys. He's very hit or miss. So if I'm playing Braxton Garrett and I'm playing multiple lineups, I want to make sure that I'm mixing some other pitchers in there as well. He has the decent high end upside, but then he also has games where he gets hit around pretty good too. So just have a little bit of risk there as well. And then he's saying for pay up bat to have is Bobby Bichette, going against Brandon Bielik. We're not sure we're going to get out of him on any given start for the Astros. He's been pretty good as of late, though. So not much history there versus those Toronto hitters. Bobby Bichette is definitely one that could work out for today as well. And then let's see, he's got pay down bat to have is Owen Miller. Obviously, Owen Miller is a guy that is very eligible at multiple spots, second base, third base, and outfield, I believe, on FanDuel now at this point in time. Guy that has typically hit left-handed pitching pretty well in his career. I like Andrew Abbott as a prospect. We'll see how he does in his first career start against the Brewers, though. So we'll just have to see how that is. Definitely appreciate you commenting there, Lord King Guru. If anybody does have any other ones that they want to throw out there in the live chat, you can do that if you're watching our replay. Drop it down in the comments, some of your favorite plays for today as well. If you have any additional questions, feel free to drop it down there as well, or in the live chat if you're still watching live. Lord King Guru says, love your shows as well. So definitely do appreciate the support from you and everybody else that is watching at this point in time. This is a daily show that I do like putting out for MLB, do out for NBA throughout the season, NFL, everything else like that. Use some USFL, XFL. So definitely be sure to check out if you're interested in pretty much any DFS content. Don't really get into too much of the NHL, PGA, or like MMA stuff like that, but if you want directions and people to go for that, feel free to shout out, ask questions there too, and I can kind of direct you into some of the ones that I know that are pretty good in those sports as well. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have for the Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today. Do appreciate everyone that did check it out. Like I said, if you have any additional questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Like I said, if there's any weather updates, I'll leave it down in the comments as well. I'll post all the starting lineups throughout the day down there. And then if there's any updates to my core picks throughout the day, I will leave that as a pinned comment there as well. But definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in for today. If you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, would ask that you do subscribe if you like the content that I am putting out. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, it is primarily the MLB DFS as well as the USFL DFS. Definitely be sure to check out that video on Friday. I am doing snap counts for that, which I don't believe anybody else in the community is still doing at this point in time. So that is definitely an advantage we can have for that perspective. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I have at this point in time for today's video. Definitely do appreciate everyone. Definitely do appreciate everyone tuning in, whether you're watching live or on replay. Definitely means a lot to me. Hopefully each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.